related to depression and guilt. There's a researcher named Fayard who used a meta-analysis to show that conscientiousness was associated with specific emotions and overall negative emotion, but was most strongly associated with guilt. It was negatively related to guilt experience, but positively related to guilt proneness. And so maybe guilt is the emotion that you feel when you don't do your duty, something like that. And that's partly why we were thinking as well, it's not exactly why we were thinking that conscientiousness is motivated by inability to tolerate inactivity, but it's a finding that's along the same sort of lays out the same sort of theoretical territory. So you must know people, maybe the person is your mother, or perhaps it's your father. They come over to your place or you go over there and they're just working all the time. They can't sit down and relax. They just work all the time. And they'll tell you if you ask them, well, I can't stand sitting around. I have to be doing something. And you can imagine too how that might have been selected for across the evolutionary time span. I mean, if you're living in a situation where resources are somewhat limited, like we pretty much all do, you're going to demand of the people around you that they at least pull their fair share of the weight, right? And so you could imagine that the people who were likely to feel a negative emotion of some sort for not chipping in and doing their share or more than their share, which would be a way of indicating their value to the community, were more likely to be, well, less likely to be selected as mates, and also perhaps more likely to be severely punished from time to time. Now, you might say, well, how do people get away with not being conscientious then? And, well, the answer to that would be, there are other things that you can offer the community that are of value that aren't associated with dutifulness. And I think comedians are a good example of that. I don't believe that comedians are particularly conscientious, because it's not the kind of lifestyle you would pick if you were a conscientious person. Or people who go out on the road and play music, for example, because that's such an erratic lifestyle and so unlikely to be stable across any reasonable amount of time. So maybe you could be valuable to the community by being amusing. An extrovert would do that. Or by helping ensure security and safety, and maybe someone high in neuroticism would do that. Or maybe you would be useful because you're really good at developing affiliative relationships. That would be someone who is agreeable. Or you're creative. But the conscientious person demonstrates their value by working hard and being dutiful and contributing to the broader community and following rules and all that sort of thing. And there may be other things they do as well.